The military calls them AWACS, A-W-A-C-S. AWACS. It stands for Airborne Warning and Control Systems. This is one. It's called the E-3 Sentry. It costs about $300 million. It's called a Sentry because it functions basically as eyes in the sky, that big dome on top, that thing that sits on top of the plane that makes it look like not a normal plane. That's a 30-foot long rotating radar. It can detect anything airborne within 250 miles from the surface of the Earth all the way up to the stratosphere. We do not have a ton of planes like these, and they are very, very, very expensive. But AWACS are just key to American air dominance in faraway war zones. Well, on Friday, Iran blew one up. Iran carried out a targeted attack on the Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia. That attack wounded a dozen U.S. troops. It also destroyed this vital and rare and expensive and strategically critical radar aircraft that we don't have very many of. How did it know how to find it? Why wasn't it protected? Why was it out in the open? Over the weekend, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky told NBC News that it wasn't Iran that figured out where that vital U.S. aircraft was sitting there unprotected. It was Russia. In an interview with NBC, Zelensky shared his own briefing from Ukraine intelligence. It showed that Russian satellites had taken images of that airbase in Saudi Arabia, not once, not twice, but 3 times in the week leading up to the strike that injured all those American troops and destroyed that critical plane. Since the start of this war in Iran, we have seen report after report citing U.S. officials and British officials, even German officials, all saying that Russia is helping Iran target U.S. assets, helping Iran target and attack and kill and wound U.S. troops. So how is the United States roaring back at Russia for that? How are we getting them to back off? How are we making them pay for doing that? Not at all. We're not doing anything, quite the opposite. President Donald Trump has instead, inexplicably, twice cut sanctions on Russian oil. And then this weekend, Trump decided to additionally give Russia a big new gift. The U.S. has imposed a blockade on all sorts of fuel to the island nation of Cuba for a couple of months now. But this weekend, for some reason, who knows why, Trump decided to let a Russian oil tanker go right through the blockade, sail on through unmolested to bring oil to Cuba anyway. I mean, Trump's war on Iran has been one question mark after another about the most serious stuff in the world. Tonight, not only is the Strait of Hormuz still unsafe for shipping, but Iran appears to have hit a fully loaded Kuwaiti oil tanker in the port of Dubai. The crew were reportedly unharmed, but they hit the tanker. Meanwhile, this weekend, thousands of troops from the U.S. Army's elite 82nd Airborne Division, the paratroopers, arrived in the Middle East, which means there are more than 50,000 American troops in the region. Trump reportedly wants to send 10,000 more. The latest deployments include large numbers of special operators, including Navy SEALs. What are they there for? What is Trump going to tell them to do? What is the point of this war at this time? Joining us now is Ben Rhodes, former Deputy National Security Advisor for President Obama. Ben, it's nice to see you. Thanks very much for being with us tonight.
Hey, Rachel.
So a lot is happening all at once. I feel like there's a few different things I want to ask you about. One is what is going on with the weird favorable treatment to Russia when the intelligence and the open source reporting seems to be getting stronger and stronger about Russia really playing a pivotal role in Iran's ability to hurt American assets and American personnel. But also what's happening, and I'll ask you this first, just with the strategic rationale for what we're doing, the president's incoherence in terms of being able to explain what he's trying to do, and how that matches up with what he's actually doing, which is sending lots more troops.
Well, the reality is, I just don't think he knows what he's doing. It seems like he launched this war thinking that Iran would capitulate quickly and he'd have some quick win like he did when he took out and abducted Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela. And anybody that has done any war games or looked at Iran would know that that would not be the case, that this is a deep regime that would resist and that would lash out across the region as they have. And the war thus far has been a strategic disaster, Rachel. I mean, let's just talk about Russia, since you teed it up in your introduction there. Vladimir Putin benefits because the price of oil is up. That is money in his pocket because that's what Russia relies on for revenue. Russia has been given a waiver from U.S. sanctions so they can sell more oil at a higher price and make even more money. The Ukrainians, in an effort to be good citizens, are sharing some of their own drone defenses with the Gulf Arabs because they're getting bombarded by the same Iranian drones that were used in Ukraine. That's not good for Ukraine. That lessens their defenses. The U.S. has become completely disinterested in pursuing a peace settlement in Ukraine, certainly one that is on any kind of favorable terms to the Ukrainians, because we're consumed by this war. And then meanwhile, Vladimir Putin can now point to the rest of the world and say, what's the difference? The U.S. also attacks countries in illegal wars of aggression that are unprovoked. So kind of across the board, economically, in Ukraine and geopolitically, Vladimir Putin is winning this war in Iran, and the U.S. is getting really no benefit. We've replaced one supreme leader with a younger one who's probably even more radical than his father. We've convinced the Iranians that their only survival is probably to try to pursue a nuclear weapon on the back end of this war. And the Iranians are currently running the Strait of Hormuz, which is 20% of the world's fossil fuel energy, like a toll road, and are charging to get oil out and gas out. So you tell me where the strategic benefit is for the United States.
Ben, the Wall Street Journal is reporting tonight that President Trump has told, again, this is a thing that Trump has reportedly said. So as far as I'm concerned, things he says have no value. The only reason to talk about them is to try to figure out how they match up with things he's actually doing. While he is sending thousands of troops to the region, including now not only paratroopers, but special forces, including Navy SEALs, Trump has also reportedly, according to the Wall Street Journal, told aides tonight that he is willing to end the war in Iran, even if the Strait of Hormuz remains largely closed. So the Strait of Hormuz was open before the war. It will now stay closed and be operated, as you put it, I guess, as the kind of toll road that you were just describing. Trump is willing to have that be the outcome of his war. But there are these thousands of Americans that he has put over there. And my sense of watching Trump in various national security crises that have erupted since in both of his terms is that he doesn't tend to send troops places without using them. He doesn't tend to use them as a bluff to just put them there and then take them out without having them do something. Do you have any sense of what he's planning on having them do?
There's really two or three things that those ground troops could be doing. One, they could be trying to secure the remaining nuclear stockpile, the nuclear fuel, the enriched uranium that the Iranians have. That's largely in a place called Isfahan that is in the center of Iran. So not a simple mission to go in there and get highly enriched uranium. Two, they could be a part of some effort to open the Strait of Hormuz. That's incredibly difficult, right? This is mountainous, difficult terrain. The Iranians would contest it. And then third, they could try to seize Karg Island that Trump has talked about, which is key to Iranians' ability to export its energy resources, or some of these other islands in the Strait of Hormuz. But then they're also sitting ducks, too. It's not like the Iranians wouldn't be firing missiles and drones at them. So all three of these missions carry great risk. Like you, Rachel, this reminds me of the buildup in Iran, where as he's sending all these troops, he's saying, oh, no, we want to negotiate. Well, actually, he was sending troops for the purpose of launching this war. We saw the same thing in Venezuela. So I just don't know why you would be sending the 82nd Airborne, all these special forces, if you weren't going to use them. I guess you could say it's part for leverage and some negotiation, but the Iranians don't seem intent on negotiating with Trump. They've been bombed twice in the middle of negotiations. If he were somehow to leave the Strait of Hormuz closed, then we suffer all the global economic impacts, the potential catastrophe to our own economy. He doesn't seem to understand that either. He keeps saying that we don't use the Strait of Hormuz. That fundamentally misunderstands energy markets. It may be that more of that oil and gas goes to Europe and Asia, but look at the price at the pump, right? It impacts us too. So we were dealing with either an escalatory cycle that he can't get out of, or just a tremendous amount of incompetence, because he should be trying to negotiate the reopening of the Strait as the pathway to ending the war.
Ben Rhodes, former Deputy National Security Advisor. Ben, really helpful to have you here tonight. This is a seriously muddy situation, but your clarity is really helpful. Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel.